Guys, we are streaming, if I've done everything correctly.
Awesome. Thank you, Jim. Okay, in this case, we can get started. Hi, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us for the special edition of the Developer of Office Hours Hacker Month edition. As you likely seen in our announcements, we devoted March to developers, and we decided to name it a Hacker Month. Hacker Month is your chance to emerge with bounties, contribute to Space Acres, and get some USDC for your contributions. It's also a great learning opportunity, as we're hosting our first ever workshops. And today's workshop is going to be hosted by Nazar. And hey, Nazar, and thank you so much for taking the time to join us today and to host this workshop. And today we're going to be talking about Space Acres contributions. But if you want to contribute to Space Acres, here is the link to all of the open issues that you can look through and pick the task which is suitable for you. But without further ado, let's get right into our workshop. Nazar, thanks again, and it's over to you.
Yeah, so what you can see on the screen, hopefully you can see, and hopefully it is moving. Oh, I think it's locked already. I hope you can see it's moving. I have Ubuntu 23.10 installation. I will do kind of speed run from the very zero to installation of all the dependencies and building Space Acres, and then we'll try to do MVP of one small feature in there. If you have any questions about Space Acres or Subspace Protocol or implementation, please drop it in the chat. We will probably have a few moments to wait while things are compiling. So let's jump right into it. I will go to github.com/subspace spaceacres. And if you want to build it, there are basically two things. You have Subspace and you have GTK4 as main dependencies. So we can go to Subspace first, and since I'm kind of cheater, I'll go to Dockerfile here, and I will take these as dependencies. There is nothing installed on this VM yet. So I'll just drop it in here, and we can start installing some stuff. And the second thing we will need is GTK4. Go to GTK4. They have a book with documentation, and you can go to Linux. And on Linux, on Debian and derivatives, which Ubuntu is, you need to install these packages. You can drop them in there as well, and it will take a while to install. The other thing we need is Rust itself. So we'll go to rustup.rs, and there I have a command that you can use to install Rust. And we can try to install that one. Yes, we just need to have default installation. That's cool. While that is installing, we will also... Oh, it's not loading for someone. Okay. The other thing we will need is an IDE. So let's say Rust Rover is something I'd like to use. We will download tar.gzip, and that should be okay for us. And the other thing is we need the source code of the Space Acres itself. If you had dependencies installed like I described, it should be just a matter of git clone and then the URL. So this thing seems to be already downloaded. We can just extract Rust Rover here. Is there a screen sharing on YouTube? If there is, hopefully you can at least watch it there. Okay, so this seems to be downloaded as well. You probably wouldn't want to drop it in downloads, but this will do for the demo, and we'll open it in the terminal. Cool. So we will take Rust Rover, I think, sh, and we have our IDE. I confirm all of the stuff. Okay, it's thinking a little bit. Give it a moment. Yeah, okay. continue. And then if you want to make it convenient, just click this small button on Linux. Okay, it's thinking again. That's why we need some questions in the chat to answer in the meantime. Okay, and you can have create desktop entry. Yes, just for this user. And then if you go to applications, Rust rover will be in there. So since we installed Rust and there are some environment variables you need to set, the easiest thing to do next is to just log out. You don't need to reboot the machine. And you can just log in. And we should be good to go. So we can open Rust rover. And well, you know what? Let's just cd into space acres and try to run it. Cargo run. That's all you need. And in here, we will open existing projects and we will go to space acres. Probably also take a few moments to figure out what this project is about. I'm not sure what this error is about. Let's try again. Cargo binary normally provided. Interesting. Okay, so it works now. Okay. And then we can build. Okay, so I think I can make it a little bit larger. This is the new interface. I'm not exactly sure how it works. View appearance. Yeah, this will be new for me. Let's new UI. Let's disable it for now. Otherwise, I'll be stumbling around searching for things. Okay, so what we have here, I will make the font a little bit larger so you can see it better. Let's make it 150. Hope it's good. We have a few things. So first of all, it's an app. So you will have main RS file, which kind of brings everything together, but there are two components, backend and frontend. And the feature we'll try to implement today, going to our issues. There is an interesting thing where when the application crashes, it just disappears. And it would be nice if it was automatically restarting itself and maybe showing like a warning that something is happening, such that at least you are farming while it's kind of not quite working perfectly. So that's what we'll try to do. And hopefully in a few moments, we will have this thing actually compiled. But the architecture, the way software runs is actually like a parent process and a supervisor. And the reason for that is that we can control it better. For example, we can restart it when we apply setting changes. Something you might have seen if you like add a new farm or change the size or something like that. And the way it works, we are just spawning a new thread. So in the very bottom, we have main function, and we run CLI parameters in here. And then our CLI interface, there are actually parameters in the CLI that you are not using usually. One is startup. This is when it's specified. It's, for example, on the shortcut in Windows on auto start. It will be minimized. Then there is a child process, just an indicator to the app that this is a parent to child process, and it will behave accordingly. And then there are some GTK arguments we are not dealing with most of the time. And if it's a child process, we will run the application like a GTK application. Otherwise, we will run supervisor. And for GTK application, there are a few things how to configure logging, and it's platform specific because on Windows there are some special things. And then on the parent, on the supervisor, what we have is we compose the parameters, like we put them together, and then we basically try to run it as a command in here. Just run command with those parameters, and we forward all of the logs to standard error and standard output. And we have some other things. But notice that this thing is actually a loop. So depending on some conditions, when child application exits, the parent supervisor might decide to restart it again. This happens when the application exits with a status code. There are a few of them that are known. Right? For example, if status code is restart, which in our case is 100, then it will basically continue a loop, meaning it will start application again. This is how you apply changes. It is a little bit more tricky to apply changes without restarting application, but since we have a child application, we can just exit the whole application and start the new application altogether, which solves some of the problems. So what we will want to do, we will want to handle something here that will basically be like an emergency case. Like something kills an application because it ran out of memory, or it tried to run some instruction that is not supported and it crashed, or something else happens, or like disk disconnects and it crashes. So we will want to take those cases and restart it similarly to how we restart in regular case. But in addition to that, we will also want to send like a notification to our child process that, by the way, you were just restarted, but this is as a result of some crash. So maybe users should look into logs why it happened in the first place. So that is something we'll want to do. And I don't think we will need to look into backend too much, at least for now. This should take a few more moments and we will have our application up and running. And on Linux, it will actually like forward all of the logs from the child process to the parent process, so we can see as things are happening in addition to them being streamed into log file. On Windows, you will not see; you will just have the log file, and there are reasons I'm not going to go into that. So basically, yeah, we have Space Acres started just like that, cargo run, and nothing fancy. And if we go to System Monitor and we filter by space acres, you will see that there are two processes. One is a very small one. This is our supervisor, and the other one is our child application. And we can show dependencies, so you can see like we have a shell, and like one thing starts the other thing, right? So what we can try to do is to just kill this process. And we have a message application terminated by signal. So this is the case here when there is no status code. And we can try a few like other options. Okay, it's thinking again. Let's give it a moment. And reminder, you can drop questions about any of what you are seeing in the chat, and I will try to address them.
I am keeping an eye on the YouTube stream as well, and if anyone wants to ask a question in there, because it's easier, feel free to pop it in there, and I'll transplant it across for you, Nazar.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure why it doesn't want to update the screen. It might be thinking about something. Oops. It's a little bit too much. I think this VM is not feeling very well. Okay, let me try to maybe restart it. Okay,
It's
let's
always
help it
tricky
a
with the
little
live
bit.
demos and the screen
Yeah,
sharing.
yeah. And it's not like I'm sitting in like this on in EVM all the time. It's just for the demo purposes. Okay, I think we are back. CD space acres. And we can try to run it again. And system monitor, and we also had Rust rover. And let me disable this hierarchy. Okay, so the other thing we can try to do and see what happens is previously we were sending a signal, more like graceful signal. We can try to also kill the process instead of just ending it normally. So we can try this. Yeah, okay, so basically it's the same problem, the same situation. So in order to handle it, let's just do what we mentioned before. We can just replace this break with continue, and then we can try to run application again. And hopefully it will not take too much time. Linking process is unfortunately quite slow, but it should start back up. And then if we kill the child application, it should actually restart itself automatically, which is part of what we want for this particular issue. But it's not all of it. Okay, so this is probably our bigger application. Let's just kill it, and then it starts back again. So this is cool, but it's not very useful because we want something nicer. So let's say we want to keep track of the fact that we are restarting. So let's say restarting true, and then we will go back to the level when this loop starts, and then we have a variable restarting that will be false initially. And then let's say we introduced a CLI option. Let's say restart message. And we will have it as an argument. It will be just a standard long argument in our CLI. And when we are restarting, because the application crashed, we will try to pass along a message to the child process. So we basically have most of the things we actually need. Just in the supervisor, we will check if let's some restart message in, I think it's self restart message. No, it's not in self restart message. If restarting, then we will push another argument. So we will have push, and we will have restart message. Underscores are translated into hyphens in this case. And then this will be to string. And then we will send some kind of message. I'm not sure what to send. Hello from restart. So this is good on the to string. On the end of the parent process, then we need to handle it for the child. So we go into the app, and we have some arguments handled in here, GTK arguments, and some other things. There is a startup flag here. So let's look at the front end part of it. If you go to this application and click or press Control-Shift-D, you can see this thing. This is sort of like in the browser, when you press F12, you have DevTools. This is kind of the same thing. So you can do things like pick an element, and then it will show that element here in the tree of like how application is built. And you can modify these things. You can have some properties edited in here. And you also can discover how application is actually built. So here, for example, you can see that this is a stack, which is kind of like a switch between different views. And then if you go to its properties, you can see that the visible child name, which is just a number, is 0. But if you switch to 1, we can see that there is a different welcome screen depending on what you are doing. This is an upgrade screen. It's not fully rendered because we are not actually having upgrade screen, but it's like technically in there. And we can change it maybe 2, and you can see that there is a loading screen, and there is a 3, which is like a configuration. So you can actually explore like what is happening in here. In our case, there is actually one thing. I'm not sure it's easier to find here or there. Let's just find a warning. Too many results. Okay. So in the front end, there is a component that is rendering status bar notifications. And we can try to find where it's actually rendered. Status bar notification in the box. A box is like a div in GTK. Basically, you have boxes in boxes in boxes. So this is in the view that is, okay, this is after everything. Okay, so theoretically in here, this is our warning box, and it is not visible by default because there is nothing to show. But if you click visible, like we toggle it, I think we should be able to see something. Let's see. GTK label. Label, we can just try to type some text. Yeah, so this is warning at the bottom that we have. We will want to render a message in there. And there is also alternatively a button here. This button appears, for example, when we are updating configuration, we need to restart the whole app. That's how that button appears. And you can like show it as well if you want to. You can go here, visible, and yeah, restart button by default. So we need to send the data somehow down the application stack to render it in here. So let's go into status bar notification. We have a warning, and let's, for the simplicity, initialize everything at the very beginning when the application starts. So this status bar notification is initialized somewhere below. Initially, it is none, but let's say we have initialization data structure in here. App init, and then let's say we have, what did we call it? This is also not how I like it. Window. Yeah, okay. Oh, this one. Yes. Switch to commit dialog. Okay. So I can see it in here, the changes. We call it restart message. So let's say we just have it like this in here as well. We will have restart message. And then in the place we were just been, in here, if init let some restart message init start message. So basically, if there is a restart message, then we will render it. Otherwise, we will do what we did before. Okay, something like this. The other thing I need in settings, languages and frameworks. Where is Rust in here? Rust FMT. Okay, yes. Change things a little bit. It's annoying. Oh, cargo is not even enabled. Okay, makes sense. So in here, we will then go to warning, and then we, for warning, need a message. So restart message is our message, and we will not show any button for now, at least. False. Why does it not want to apply formatting for me? Reformat, yes, please. Okay, this is how I like it. So in case we have a restart message, we will show it. Otherwise, we will not. And this might theoretically be almost sufficient. The only thing left is we have this new field in app init, and we just need to set that field. Okay, it'd be easier to find this way. So in here, this is our main RS again, and we have this. Oops. We have this new field, restart message. We will take self restart message. So hopefully that is sufficient. Let's try to stop this and see what happens. Hopefully it compiles, even though it's not guaranteed. Any questions about any of this so far? By the way, I can maybe show you a few things. Yeah. In GitHub Actions, there are a few actions available in the repository. One of them is just Rust, which will run tests and lints and things like that, which you can use. The other one is release. So if you are having a hard time to install dependencies on Linux or Windows, you can actually go here. There will be a button if you are logged in on your fork, and you can actually trigger this workflow on your branch that you're working on. And then if you go to any of the workflows, you will see at the bottom, there are two files. If you're logged in, you will be able to download them. Otherwise, they're just showing up like this. So this is how you can make customizations to your versions of Space Acres. I saw there is one user that was making a Chinese interface, like translation. And then you can build it and then you can install it. The only difference is that it will not be digitally signed on Windows, so you will have like a scary warning. But otherwise, it should work. So we have our application running, and let's see what happens if we try to exit it. Okay, so we have application started. We can go to properties and maybe see the command restart message hello from restart, but we do not see the actual message itself for some reason. I'm not quite sure why, but we can try to figure it out. So we have a window, we have a box. There is a stack. Below the stack, we have this thing, which is, I think, our warning. Okay. But it is not actually visible. So let's try to see why it's not visible. Any ideas why that might be happening? Okay, standard bar notification, warning, status bar notification. So it should be rendering if it is not none. However, there are a few places where it is actually being overridden. If it is loading, it will be overriding, which I'm not sure we need. I can just disable it for now. I think that should be sufficient. Yeah, let's try that. The way front end and back end sort of communicate, there are notifications that are coming from the backend. And if you go to the backend file, okay, let's try to demo it and then I will show you. So let's try to destroy it. Yep. Hello from restart. So this is where we can have like a close button, and then we can have a more nicer message about something that is happening. We can have a button that will open the log file immediately, or maybe like have a dialog message. Maybe we can try to have some different distinction between the reasons why application crashed. For example, like the parent process can do some tracking, and then you can have like a suggestion that, hey, it crashed, but this is probably the reason why. The other thing we would do is we would probably track how many times it restarted, how quickly. And if it restarts over and over and over again very quickly, that probably means it will never succeed. So we can maybe show like a different dialog. Want that. So you probably need to look into logs and figure out how to fix it. But this is kind of how we would go about doing something like this. This is like a very MVP version of the implementation. So going back to how frontend and backend talk to each other, in the backend there is a big enum that has all of the messages. These are loading steps. There are steps for like initial loading, and there is also a few steps for the upgrade path when, for example, you are moving from 3G to 3F, 3G to 3H, and some other networks in the future. Notifications are like this. We have an enum. There are some loading notifications. There are some notifications about things that are happening in terms of the configuration. For example, you had an old chain like 3G, but application doesn't support it. So this is how you actually send that message back to the front end, and front end can decide to actually show you upgrade message or upgrade screen. That's how many of you are upgraded to SpaceAcre 0.1 with 3H network support. There are some notifications about like what is happening with the app when it starts running. There are some notifications from the node. For example, here you can see when the sync state updates or when blocks are imported. That's how we render the block number and the speed of block import and things like that. And there are many notifications from the farmer. For example, we know when the sector is updated, and update of the sector is things like plotting, when it's starting to plot particular sector, when it's downloading sector, encoding, and so on. This is how we show that information. And then about expiration, when we know when the sector expires, but it is not expired yet, or it is about to expire, so like in the next segment of archived history, or it's already kind of useless. So that's how we send notifications from the backend to the frontend, just for frontend to render or ignore or whatever. And there are communication messages back, which are actions. And I think right now we have just one, the new config, which basically happens when you go to configuration and then you apply changes. That changes can be initially, like right now, when we are configuring it for the first time. So here, when we click start, it will trigger this. Or if you already configured that everything is running and you want to update configuration, it will apply that configuration and store it on disk for the next start to take effect. I think this is the simplest way to explain it. There are more things you can do without like knowing coding too much, I would say. For example, if you look at our message, like status notification, See, yeah, here we are adding a CSS class, that same CSS kind of class that you have in the browser, and we are adding it to our notification. And then there are like a few cases of that. And then in the front end part, if you go back and we try to pick this small thing, I think it's on the box. No, maybe on the label. Yeah, there is a warning label CSS class, and you can like add classes. You can go to CSS. You can unpause this, and let's say you can take this warning label, and then let's say color blue, something like that. Well, blue, it doesn't look very well. Pink. And then if you want to actually persist these changes, there is at least one by default file that is in the repository in resources. It's app CSS, and there are some CSS styles, including the warning label, text color, that are customizable here. And you can do things like animations. So for example, when you are downloading a sector, you can see that there is a slow 1 second pulsing animation with this green color. But then when we are encoding, the animation is very quick, like 0.2 milliseconds, and it's red, like blinking red. So this is how you apply those changes. The other thing you can try to do is to change appearance altogether. There are themes. On Linux, by default, it follows the system theme. So like I have a dark theme installed here. And the thing you can do, you can change it in global settings. So if you go to settings, you can disable dark variant, and you can see the white variant, or like light, and you can see how like the colors and things you are picking for the UI are reflected in the white interface. And then you can have like different themes altogether. So you can have like a different theme, Yaru Bark, instead of the default theme, which is changes things a little bit. And you can change like a font size and a whole bunch of different things. Including you can show like a frame rate at the top right, the 60 FPS counter. Yeah, I think this is most of what I wanted to show, is just very quickly from ground zero to something that you can actually run and experiment with. Ooh, that's a lot of talking. Any questions? Anything I can show or explain?
It's awesome. Thank you so much, Nazar. Maybe while we're waiting for any questions, I'm also keeping out on an eye out for the YouTube comments of those who are watching us via the YouTube. There is a question I've seen yesterday, and I'm not sure, since you're a hardcore Linux user and you might not be familiar with the Windows installation, but if you know, is there any major differences between setting up the development environment in Linux and on Windows? And if you are aware of them, could you maybe just
Yes, I have a VM
let us
with Windows environment, and I am running Pacemakers in there. So like when I need to experiment with things, I go there, I build it, I run it. I then like export the package from the VM to a shared Nextcloud folder, and then I download it in another VM which is not having any Rust tooling, anything installed, so like brand new installation of Windows. And I install that and make sure it still runs, because there are some developer dependencies which may result in application working on one machine where Rust and everything is installed, but not actually working on regular machine. So that's also important. You basically follow the same instructions for the most part. So let's go to the repository. Again, we have subspace, we have a GDK. So for subspace, if you go to development, you will actually see for the node and for the farmer, there are different dependencies. So on Windows, I'm not sure we have a lot. Yeah. We just have generic explanation of what you need to install. Maybe someone can contribute Windows specific dependencies. if you have any doubts, you can go to GitHub and workflows, and you can go to something like snapshot build, for example. This is the same on the monorepo side, and you can look at what we're actually doing. The nice thing, you can fork subspace as well, and you can build your own version of subspace with some modifications, and absolutely everything is automated, like everything. There is no secrets, everything is open source. So you can go to, for example, executables, and you can see that there are different platforms, including there are some Windows platforms. So for Windows, we're building them using Microsoft Visual C++. So this is the compiler you need to have installed. If you like Google MSVC, you will find, I think, Visual Studio Compiler. Then you will need LLVM. If you don't have it, and you can see there is a step to install LVM, I think, for macOS here, because many things are actually present on default GitHub Actions installation, which is easier on one hand, but on the other hand, you don't really know what is installed necessarily. So like there are a whole bunch of things that just magically work, but then you want to actually build it yourself, and you're having a hard time. So like for LLVM, you will go to the official releases and you will grab like one of these Windows MSVC, just install that one. And then for GTK, I already showed you that there is a book. If you go to Windows, it will tell you recommended path, what to do. You should already have a compiler installed when you install Rust up, and like on Rust up, RS display all supported installers. So like for Windows, you just download the exe and run it, and then you will follow these steps. So you should have like Python, I think, and then you will have GVS build. You can build GTK and then just configure a few environment variables, log out, log in, and then cargo run, and it will run as well. Since we have a little bit of time, I can maybe like try to do that for you. Let me cancel this one, and I will start another VM. Okay. So this is, can you see it? Is it showing how it's booting? Hope it does.
Yeah, I can see it.
So here, for example, we can go to Space Acres and maybe get like everything is installed already here, so it's a little bit easier. Get check out. You cannot see the stream. Let me try to share it again. Case.
Okay, that's coming through now, Nazar. It does seem hit and miss,
Cool.
but we have it now.
Thanks.
We have
Thanks
it now. It's on
for
YouTube.
heads up.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. So I have a Space Acres. This is the same latest commit, and I can do cargo run, and someone is saying it's not going through on YouTube. Okay, yeah. There is always delay. Oh yeah, it will take a while to compile here. It should compile eventually. But the process is generally the same. Once you have all the dependencies installed, it's just cargo run. There is nothing really special or fancy. It will just build. And then the same way, you can push it to GitHub. You can build the official kind of way within action your build, and then you can like maybe share with a friend if you want to or something. Or you can set a pull request with your changes once you are satisfied with what you have. The only one thing I think worth noting is that you will probably not have icons working properly. There is a thread on GVS build, and I think I opened it in a few other places, It's something GTK specific. I spent way too much time to understand how to make it work. It does work in the official build. So like if you go to, see, I have it here. Open Space Acres. If you go to GitHub workflows and then you go to the release, you can actually see how it's built in there. So we are configuring GTK4. This is just a workaround that will be deleted because that issue is resolved. And then we will configure some of the environment variables. This is basically what you would have to do once manually on your machine. And we verify that the libraries we expect are the same that we actually have. We install LLVM and Proto-C and a few other dependencies. And then once we compile the app, there's just a fancy way. Cargo Run basically does the same thing, but like less optimized. Then for Windows specifically, we are using a tool called Cargo Wix, which generates the package. And for that to happen, we have our GTK4 installation locally. So it's usually on C drive. And then we will create some directory structure under target. We will copy some files in there and like specific files we care about. And then we will run Cargo Wix to create a package. And then once that is done, what you will see is you will see something like this. In Space Acres, in Target Wix, you will see a few MSI files. So this is something similar to what's attached on GitHub. You can produce yourself. And in this particular case, the way the directory like is structured is you will have the exe file. It's not showing here. I can show you in the Wix file. This is the file on Windows that is the kind of description of how the package is generated. It's a bunch of XML, but the important thing is that we have a bin directory, which is where our exe file is located. And then we also have next to it a few other directories like lib and share. And assuming those are in place with correct files, it will then render icons properly. Like if you go to C drive, program files, Space Acres, you will see that there is lib and there are some stuff in there. And there is share with also some stuff in there. This thing is in the Wix file. You can see like what it's doing. And you can, like if you install it, then icons will be rendered. But if you don't install just Cargo Run, something is not able to find icons in the correct directory. That's why it's not rendering them, even though it's technically there. I think it would take like another minute or two to compile on Windows, but otherwise the process is the same. It's just much easier to copy a few commands on Linux, and everything is done in like 30 seconds. Takes a little bit more effort on Windows. And it works on Mac as well. Just on Mac, you need to package a whole bunch of different things. And given how many farmers we have on Mac right now, it just wasn't very rational use of my time. Telemetry, subspace network. Go here, we have just 0.15% 12 macOS users. So yeah, Discord and video, it's not the best combination. It works generally, but sometimes I need to like reload Discord to actually for video to show up. I'm not sure why. Just is what it is. Okay, so we are almost done. I think Rust by example is probably a good way to start with Rust. Let's question in the chat. Rust by example. You need to have some kind of knowledge of Rust. There are different things from like hello world to more advanced stuff with like threads and error handling and stuff like that. There are many of these what they call books. This is like the Rust book. It's actually like repository. I think there is a GitHub repository that they produce for different purposes. There are like less advanced, there are more advanced stuff. I think Rust, by example, starts here. If you have some like knowledge of JavaScript or Python or something like that, it will help. But Rust is pretty different, pretty interesting language. So just take your time. There are so many things to learn here. Okay, it says it's running. And it asks me to allow the firewall access. And because I have Node configured, it will actually start. And yeah, basically Space Acres 016 running in here as well. This is my sort of demo setup. So it is possible, it just takes a little bit more effort to actually configure things.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for the demo, Nazar. All right, let's see if we have any more questions. I'm also watching on YouTube. I don't have any comments on the YouTube. So there was a question by Ernapa. What's the good primer on Rust for people that never used it? And there is a couple of links that Jim put in the chat.
I just want to open the board with the issues that we have. So like if you are a macOS user and you know a little bit about packaging for macOS, feel free to contribute, and we will have official release of macOS. There are some pointers of things I think might be helpful. I didn't try them, but if you feel adventurous, you can try to go there. The tray icon is a challenging thing. That's why it's more expensive than others. Basically, there was like a built-in widget or something in GTK3 that was the tray icon, and then they deleted it in GTK4, which is why it's way less trivial to actually implement. That's the primary reason. But at the same time, like if you feel adventurous, that would be nice, I think. Otherwise, you just have to minimize it and keep it in here, which is not the same as tray icon, unfortunately. And there are some simple ones. So like the menu, if you look at the application, this menu looks a little bit off, right? Like these are really buttons in the popover, like it's a little bit off. There's actually a special menu element that renders it properly. So by properly, what I mean is when you have this thing, for example, is there drop down like menu here? Let me try to find demo. In GTK, they have a demo. I can try to find it. Query update. No, that's not it. There's like a widget factory, I think they call it. Build, maybe here. GTK4 demos. Widget factory. No, the binary will not be here. Examples. Yeah, let me maybe show it on Linux instead. Have just a few moments left. Can you see the screen? Can someone confirm YouTube otherwise?
I'm afraid it's not coming through on YouTube. On the streaming machine, it's coming through on my machine, unfortunately.
Okay, so
It-
let
it-
me. I think it's every
it can-
second time it works.
Yeah, I
So
was going to
just
say
try
that
again.
seems to be the pattern. It's odd.
Yeah.
Not sure what the rules are.
Can you see it now?
Still squares.
Interesting. Let me try
Oh.
again. Oh, it just worked.
Yeah.
No, it disappeared. Sorry.
Yeah, but because I stopped. What about now?
Okay, well now I've got squares on both machines, so it's consistent at least. If I have a great idea, Emil or Nazar, how would I go about that? If I thought I had a way to really make an impact to something in Space Acres, what would be the best way to try and get that on the bounty board, say?
I think opening a thread on Discord or on the forum and just describing the idea you want, or maybe even an issue if you have it like well formed. And then if it's something useful, we will just put a bounty on it. Why not? Do you see what I'm sharing? By
I'm
any
afraid
chance?
not. Some can and some can't. Erdnapper could see it. I'm afraid I can't.
Yeah, I think we need at least the YouTube part to work, so you can watch it
Yeah.
later, right? No.
And it's just refusing this time, I'm afraid.
Yeah, what's weird, it on my end, it works every time. Every time
I
see
can maybe
Nazar,
try to
so-
restart it, Jim. Maybe that will help. I don't know. There's just one more thing I would like to show quickly.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. In order to show up on YouTube, it needs to show up on Jim's machine, which is the streaming
Yeah,
machine.
I have to see it. So I can see it on the machine that I'm talking to you on, but I can't see it on the machine that I'm streaming from. And they're on the same connection, and they're running the same version
Well,
of Discord.
it's just Discord.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems to hook up. If you want to give it one more restart, Nazar, because it seems to hook up quite quickly when it's going to work.
Okay. So I'm sharing it again.
Need a machine. I've even stopped all my farmers, so I'm not sure what's going on here. It was working.
Okay, so basically, on Linux, on Ubuntu, you can install this package, GTK for examples. And there are a bunch of apps in there. I think the interesting one is the GTK widget factory. GTK4-widget-factory. You have videos, you have buttons and text fields and scroll things. And then you can click the same Control-Shift-D, and you can inspect all the things in here. You can actually see like how would you put a few tabs together, or how would you have something scrolling vertically, or how would you have like a drop-down menu or things like that. This GTK widget factory is a very useful kind of playground for you to learn what is possible. And the other thing is, let's see, GTK. They have this learn GTK started. No. Their reference. So on GTK website, you can go to. There are two things. First of all, there are widgets gallery. This is a subset. This is not like everything, but this docs GTK org/GTK4 visual_index HTML. You can see a few examples of widgets that you can use and links to them, but it's not complete. So for the complete one, you can actually go to the class section on the website, and you can see all of the different things that you can take advantage of. So this is, for example, like how would you do menu, or how would you do like try icon if it existed, things of that nature. Just pay attention to the versions of GTK it's available in. We do not have GTK for 10 on Ubuntu 22.04, but otherwise, it's a good resource. Yeah, unfortunately, video doesn't work in all cases, but at least for the majority of it, it did.
Yeah, good thing that we got most of the screen sharing working on YouTube, and it will be available as a recording on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Right, guys, any final questions before we wrap up?
Well, probably not for this call. A little bit off topic.
And if anyone does have questions, of course, they can come and find us in the developer chat on Discord. We see it's getting livelier, which we absolutely love to see. If anyone has tried unsuccessfully to chat in that channel before, I didn't realise, but it appears we had lost the description on how to join it. You have to connect your GitHub account, which is pretty straightforward. But we had lost that from the description. Apologies for that. That's fixed now. So yeah, please do come and join us in Discord in the developer chat channel.
Thanks everyone for joining. Let me know if you have any other questions. We might do these workshops once in a while if there is demand.
Yeah, thank you so much for hosting the workshop, Nazar. And for all you guys in the audience, I hope you feel empowered, and really looking forward to your contributions. And yeah, as I mentioned before, Hacker Month is on the way, so please make sure to look through the GitHub issues, pick one up and try to implement and score some USDC for the implementation. And yeah, we're looking forward to some more announcements coming your way, some more events during the Hacker Month. Yeah, and we'll see you on the Discord asynchronously on the developer channel, and next week on the Farmer Office Hours. Thanks for joining, everyone. Have a good day.
Cheers, guys.
See you guys.